Most boathouses have anywhere from about 60 to 100 barrels underneath it to float it. They stay in place by what's called a spud pull. You might be able to see the pipes in the corners. Those pipes go down through the water. They stick straight up and down. And then on the dock of the structure is a bracket that goes around that spud pull, and it guides it vertically as the water rises. And I'll give you a great example of that a little bit later. But also, as we're talking about bridges, people often ask what those numbers represent. The numbers on the pilings of a bridge. Now, most people will say, oh, that's how deep the water is, but that's not true. What that really shows us is not the depth of the water, but the amount of clearance from the surface of the water to the bottom of the bridge at its lowest point. Right now, we've got about 60 feet. Now, that's not a big deal for our boat. Not even a big deal for the towboats. But you may remember boats like the Mississippi Queen, the Delta Queen, the American Queen, those big passenger boats. They require anywhere from about 44 to 60 feet of clearance to get under a bridge. So a captain has to be able to identify the amount of clearance from the bottom side or the upper side. Now, as we head upriver here, I use the term towboat or barge, kind of interchangeable here in the Midwest. But if I was to ask who in here has seen a barge before, most people can say, yeah, I've seen a barge in the Midwest. What you're looking at is a towboat, a vessel, a boat, pushing steel containers. The steel containers called a barge. The vessel that pushes it's called a towboat. And a lot of people don't know this, but that's the most efficient way to ship product north and south in the United States. As a matter of fact, here on the upper Mississippi River, one towboat can push up to 15 barges. Those steel containers, they'll push 3 wide and 5 long for a total of 15. But on the lower Mississippi, one boat will often push 30, 40, 50 barges. The world record is 88 barges with one vessel. They restrict them to 15 up here because this main channel, this highway of water, is so narrow and so windy. So much so, they will not allow 2 of them to pass each other. And here's a great example. If you look upriver, one of them's coming downriver right now, but look a little farther upriver, and there's one parked along the shore. Our river up here is so narrow and windy, they won't allow 2 of them to pass. One has to pull over and let the other one go by, and that's what's happening just upriver from us. Now, as we head upriver, we're going to run into the Winona Commercial Harbor here. Straight ahead of us is the Winona Commercial Harbor. It's one of the larger commercial harbors on the upper Mississippi River by volume. Out of this harbor, in these barges, they'll ship corn, wheat, soybeans, rock salt, coal, steel, fertilizer, frac sand, just to name a few. But what a lot of people don't realize is just how efficient these are. When you look at one container, that container will hold upwards of 1,750 tons of product. Now, if you compare that to one rail car, rail cars hold about 110 tons. Semis hold about 25 tons. So if you took all the product out of 15 barges that one boat pushes, and you loaded that product into trains, it would fill 216 train cars. And that train would be 2.8 miles long. A fully loaded towboat with a full stack of 15 is a quarter mile long. Even more astounding, if you took all the product out of 15 barges that one boat pushes, and you loaded that product into semis, and you parked those semis bumper to bumper in a straight line, that line of semis would be 13.8 miles long. 1,050 truckloads fill 15 barges. That's why it's the most efficient way to ship product north and south in the United States. There is a pair of eagles on the tree up here, ma'am, if you're interested. That's probably a mating pair. No, go right ahead. You can all go stand up there. That's fine. We'll pull up underneath them on our way out here. Now, that's probably a mating pair. And it's very difficult to tell the sex of an eagle by looking at it. There's 2 ways to tell. When you see them together like that, the larger of the 2 is the female, or the one that's yelling at the other one. My wife would say, or the one that's not doing anything is the male. I'll talk about eagles in a moment. But I'd really like to show you these barges here. When you look off our starboard side, you see full barges. We know they're full because they go down 9 feet into the water. You can see this little vertical number set, 12, 11, 10, 9. That tells you how far down they are in the water. Now if you look off our port side, you'll see some empty barges here. You can obviously see the difference. One barge is 35 feet wide, 195 feet long. And you can see how they're coupled together with these cables. And those little yellow boxes, that's a mechanical advantage device. That's how they couple them together by hand. And it's like a ratchet. But it's a mechanical advantage.